So, India are poised to win this particular test match. That's what I feel right now at this particular moment. And South Africa will be hoping that their captain, Dean Alger, and the rest of the bottom half of the batting lineup, particularly uh, Temba Bavuma and Quinton de Kock, Malka Janssen, and Vian Mulder, can really put on a fighting task over here and put up a fight so that they can draw this match. I think that's going to be probably the aim that what they should aim for, given that they are in the situation that they are right now. What currently happened, to give a quick summary before we get the guests on the show, uh, the the Proteas bowled pretty well today, actually. When it comes to the bowling unit, I think they were impressive. They bowled India out for 174 in their second innings. So Kagiso Rabada took 4 for 42, and Marco Janssen, of course, with 4 for 55. Excellent performance on debut from him after we were all having a go, probably in that in his first spell, basically, of the game. I think some of us were having some harsh words about him in that first particular innings, but not me personally. I said, let's just give him time. Uh, he's a youngster still. Let him get into the flow of things, and he did so. Bowled really well to India in their second innings, and it was a good performance. They reduced the target as much as they could. I'm not necessarily going to say that it was a total that South Africa could feel confident to chase down, given what happened in their first innings, and we're seeing that again in the second innings. Yes, we have to give plaudits to the Indian bowlers, and we said specifically in this preview show, we said in the previous show that we're going to have to worry about the Indian bowlers. And I don't know if Aditya remembers, but when he does come on the show today, when he does come on, he can maybe say if he does remember me saying this. But I specifically said that South Africa is going to struggle with Shami. I said the swing is going to be a difficult thing that Aiden Markham's going to struggle with. I said that the guys like Rassie van der Dussen will struggle with it, and we'll have to just wait and see if Dean will have to play probably one of his gritty knocks, and that's exactly what has happened. Ultimately, they can't handle the swing bowlers. The pitch is, you can see the pitch is a lot different to what it was at the beginning. Definitely, there's been a change. Pivoting in, like especially the wicket of Rassie van der Dussen, was a brilliant delivery by Jasprit Bumrah. But also, you would hope that Rassie plays the ball a little better. I feel that's not a ball miss. You couldn't, yes, you couldn't read that it's going to come in so much, um, but there must have been something that he could have done better over there. Aiden Markram, I think that was a poor shot. He was in two minds over there. Tried to leave the ball, wasn't sure if he should leave it or play it, and then chips it onto his stumps. So they are in a situation. Keegan Peterson, once again, I feel playing too many shots again. That's the same thing that we spoke about yesterday, is that we needed him to play less shots and try to leave the ball a lot more. But it was also a Jaffa over delivery as well. So India has bowled excellently, particularly on this wicket. But Dean Elgar has really put on a proper master knock here, similarly to what Temba Bavuma did in his particular innings in the first innings. He put on a gritty knock, and that's how you have to bat in Centurion. So currently the situation is as follows. India are in the driving seat of the first test match against South Africa, who required 211 more runs to win, to successfully chase down 305 at Supersport Park, which I don't think has happened before at Centurion. So you can look at it and flip it around and say also India needs 6 wickets to win. But from a South African point of view, there is hope for a draw, with the forecast saying that it will rain and thunder and storm tomorrow, particularly in the middle of the afternoon. But hey, you can't trust these websites, these weather forecast sites, because it was supposed to do so today a little bit as well, and nothing happened. So let's get the panelists on the show. Let's get this show started. You guys can also call in. The link is in the description, guys. Go ahead and click on it, or in the live chat. You can come give your say and have your say on this particular match. It's the review and what South African fans obviously think of the fourth day of the first test at Centurion between South Africa and India. Before we get started, before we get going, guys, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to click that notification bell for all future videos as well. But don't forget to subscribe to Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight into your inbox right now. Go ahead. All back issues are free too. The link is in the description for that too. Smash the like button, comment, share. Let's get straight into today's content. Hey everyone, welcome to Cricket Fanatics magazine. This is the review show. I'm your host Khalid. I'm joined today by Dicha and Aaron, and today we're going to be chatting about South Africa, day 4 versus India, first test, Centurion. Feeling a little bit down about it, but we having a little bit of issues again with the bat, and there needs to be something done to fix this because I honestly feel that maybe there needs to be a change in the order. I think maybe Keegan Peterson needs to be pushed down. Why not give the younger guy an opportunity, or the newer guy the ability to be able to come in and do what Temba has done for so many years, and move Temba up. You can see the value from Temba that Temba Bavuma can add by facing more balls and having more time to do things. I think that Rassi and Temba could move up the order. It is very easy to do that. It's not going to be a massive, massive, massive switch. It will be just Keegan switches around, and that's it. And Keegan goes down the order, and I think that would be a good idea. But let's just get your thoughts. I'm going to start with Aditya on this one. We didn't get to get your views yesterday. So I would like to get your thoughts today. What your thoughts are of this particular match. Obviously, you're happy from an India perspective, but from a South African perspective, what are your thoughts?
This test match seems to be this test match seems to be a competition between who can do marginally better in the second innings of the game. Uh, I think where South Africa really lost it, it would probably be on that first day when they let India get away to 272 for three, and then there was a rain delay, which certainly changed the nature of the pitch a little bit, and there was that spark which we know South African bowlers are capable of providing. So I thought that the balance was tilted in India's favor on that first day. Um, I don't think India has played the perfect test match by any stretch of the imagination. You know, for the quality that India has, for them to collapse from 272 for three to 327 is unacceptable in my view. But then again, I think we have about three players in the middle order who aren't in the best of form, and we have an amazingly talented wicketkeeper batsman who was capable of delivering but hasn't delivered so far. I thought the South African bowlers were outstanding yesterday, and they deserve every bit of credit that comes their way. Today, I thought they were good, but in the first session, they still lacked that spark. You know, they didn't provide the sort of venom that they had yesterday, and somewhere I feel like that slowed the game down. And then towards the end of the day, you just know what India's approach was going to be. You know, Ashwin came in first ball boundary. Rishabh Pant is hitting one-handed boundaries. So they're all going at a pretty healthy strike rate, and the intention was clear that they wanted to score as many runs as quickly as possible. Um, I agree with you when you say that the batting order needs to change a little bit for South Africa. Uh, but I don't know if it's an issue with technique or if it's if it's about mental approach, though.
Mm.
I don't know what it is.
I, I'll give my observation on this because, and the reason why is from my perspective and what I think is the domestic level, obviously, as we spoke about a little yesterday, is that the domestic level and international level, we know the gap there. If there's a gap between county cricket and international cricket, then imagine from a domestic South African perspective, because in county cricket, you are batting against a lot better bowlers, I feel, in the county scene than you are in South Africa, consistently in every single team. Um, South Africa has maybe one world class bowler per team, if they're lucky in the domestic scene. And now with the 8 divisions, it's spread out even more. Luckily, we have our Colpacks back because they're going to add value to the teams, but mainly time. South Africa don't play much test matches. We I looked at the amount of games compared to England and India and Australia. Okay, Australia is basically on the same buzz as us at the moment. But compared to India and England, like it's chalk and cheese. It's almost double. So it's
It's
almost half of what they play. But
that was sorry. It's 13 Test matches in the last 3 years for South Africa, and England played 17 Test matches this year.
is it that little? I thought it was a little more. Okay, so
Sorry, I thought we've only played 15. I might have miscounted. South Africa have definitely played 13 though.
In the last 3 years.
Yeah, but I'm thinking England this year. It doesn't matter. Move on. I thought we played 15. I probably miscounted though.
Four each with India. So 8 Test matches against India, 2 against Sri Lanka, 2 against New Zealand, 5 against Australia. That's 17.
We haven't played the last 2 though. So it is 15 for this
okay,
year.
Yeah,
I was
15.
Right.
Yeah.
it's 15 until obviously it will be 17. Okay, so
yeah, correct.
That's a good example. That's a good example. Point still stands. So my point is, like, South Africa need to come with the A game. All of a sudden, there's no way to ease their way into things. They have to be at their best immediately all the time. That's not an excuse. So what do you do to counter that? So South Africa is currently in a transitional phase. I've always said that they've been in a transitional phase for the last 2 years, and they still are, because we're still trying to find that gap, that number 3 position, number 4 position, that solidity over there in that middle order, top to middle order. So what we are doing is we are throwing a guy that can't play his natural game at international level quite yet. He first needs to get a feel for it. And Keegan Peterson plays a lot of shots. It's his game. That's how he plays at domestic level. And you can get away with it at domestic level because you're not facing 3 world-class swing bowlers in a row. You're not going to, you'll be able to see off one bowler on the one end, and then you'll maybe have a possibility on the other end to hit a guy that's bowling 125 to 130 that is not swinging the ball, that's just banging it in straight onto your bat, and then you can play as many shots as you want. So for Keegan Peterson to reprogram his brain, yes, it's good to maybe throw you in at the deep end, but then you can't expect to win matches if that's the case. Best chance for South Africa to win matches is to give the guys that have been experienced in domestic cricket an opportunity to push up the order. There is no issue in doing that, I feel, because it's one position for Temba, it's one position for Rassi, and he's batted at 3 before. And then you can also move 21 up as well, even if you want to, if you have to. I would do that too. I would even go as far as pushing 20 up one position because he's batted there as well. And then give Keegan Peterson an opportunity down the order to try and work with a guy like Quinny, someone that's playing freely. If he is in at the time, unless it's Temba that's still in and Quinny loses his wicket, then you can have someone like Keegan that's playing at the bottom and helping him familiarize himself with test cricket and the conditions. Because this wicket over here, every single opportunity that Keegan's had has been in difficult conditions and he's been in a difficult time. The South African senior batters struggle with it. So imagine a new guy coming into the team. That's what baffles me, is why they don't do things like that. They messed up the same way with Zubair Hamza, throwing him in the deep end against England. I mean, like, it's craziness. So I don't know why they don't take the lead when it comes to that from other countries, because other countries have done so. Yes, okay, with India, we might not have seen it as much because India has been like a top team for the last 3-4 seasons. I feel they've had the same core of majority of the same core of players, and the players that are interchanging or changing are guys that are experienced locally and have played a lot of international cricket. Actually, they might not have played Test cricket, but they played international cricket. So there needs to be the right balance. But Aaron, your thoughts on this, and whether I'm saying what I'm saying has any validity to it?
I think it does. I think it makes perfect logical sense, to be honest. How many times have we said on the shows as well about Temba and the situations that he's coming into in this South African batting lineup? I mean, if you shove him up the order, which is what he's used to, he might be able to put on these bigger scores. And I just look at Keegan Peterson so far. I think the whole thing with Zubair Hamza, I think that is a pretty prevalent example of how not to manage a player, in particular a young batsman. We saw him struggle. We don't want to see that happen with Keegan. But then again, another thing that I think we have to mention, in particular in this test match, and it goes back to the other couple of tests that Keegan's played beforehand, what have the opening partnerships been? Because in this test, I think it's been 2 and 1. It's an immense amount of pressure on a young batsman to come out into the middle against India, in particular Shami, Siraj and Bumrah, who have been absolutely exceptional, and we'll give them their due credit in due course. I've got lots to say about their bowling plans and their execution today. But how can you expect such a young batsman in the infancy of their test career to come out and shoulder all of that responsibility against one of the finest bowling attacks on the planet? It seems a little bit unfeasible, in my personal opinion. So if I was South Africa right now, if I had my say, I would switch around the batting lineup. With Keegan Peterson, you want him batting for the time being at maybe 5 or 6. You want him to be sheltered for the time being. He is a free-flowing batsman. I'll tell you who he reminds me a little bit of in terms of his approach. Probably Zach Crawley. I'm going to be honest. And in terms of some of his dismissals as well, pretty similar as well, because they're both inexperienced batsmen, very free-flowing, very elegant, very classy. But they do have these loose shots in them. If you put them into the middle order, a 5 or 6, you put your experienced batsmen above them in Temba Bavuma, Rassie van der Dusen, however you want to go about putting those guys into the lineup, it gives him that freedom. There's no longer that baptism of fire that he's going to be facing against the finest swing bowlers. Let's not forget as well, if South Africa bat first and lose an early wicket, he's going to be facing fresh bowlers with a new ball. It's an incredibly difficult challenge for any batsman, let alone a young, inexperienced batsman. And we all know he's incredibly talented. So again, if I was coming at this from a South African perspective, maybe just look at that. Look at what happened with Zubair Hamza. Again, another very talented batsman who's completely gone off of the radar. And that's how I would manage Keegan Peterson. Because the guy's got talent. He really has. But you've got to utilise that to the best of his ability right now. And as of yet, he hasn't got that experience of facing the best of the very best. As you've rightfully said in the last couple of shows, to be honest, Khalid, he is free-flowing. And what we've seen of him in domestic cricket is what we're seeing in Test cricket. The difference, though, is the quality of bowlers. He can afford to play that expansive, free-flowing, very elegant and classy style in domestic cricket, and he'll cash in because the level of bowling isn't quite the same. However, when you're facing Mohamed Siraj, Mohamed Shami, Jasprit Bumrah, Ashwin, whoever, Shardul Thakur as well, he's been good in this test. Yeah, it's a lot more difficult, and that's why I think he's struggled so far. So yeah, South Africa, change it for me, and there's no harm in trying, is there? Just give him a go in the middle order.
Yeah, because my fear over here is going to be the same as with Zubair Hamza. Like, who is your guy that you are going to look for the future? Like, to look towards for the future. So they saw Zubair Hamza, put him in 3. Probably one of the most difficult test series to play at home is against England. So, like, against that particular bowling attack that was swinging the ball like unbelievably and bouncing the ball and quick as well, 150s coming at you consistently. My thing is you get lucky if you face a 145 bowler now in domestic cricket in South Africa. There aren't many bowlers that are hitting the 150 mark. There aren't many. I can tell you that right now. So yes, Gerald Coetzee has come into the system, and Nandre Berger is getting close to that. Andrik Nokia is basically the only bowler that was bowling that speeds at domestic cricket. A lot of the other guys were injured, like Lifa and Tanzine, guys that are beating those numbers. So yes, okay, now you've got Kolpak's coming back that will hit 140 consistently now. So it's a different story this year around. But with Zubi, they did the same thing. They threw him in a 3. He failed. They drop him. They bring in Keegan Peterson. He's failing now. Are they going to do the same thing to him, drop him, and then try with the same thing with Reina van Tonder? Like that, or whoever's next in line. Like, I mean, that's my concern over here, is that they're going to just be repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again instead of rectifying the mistakes. Like, they need to invest in someone and say, look here, we're going to protect you. Like, I've always mentioned it. I watched that entire series, the England series. I was at every single game, and I remember how they protected Pope. And I thought that was a master class for what they did, because Pope could come out in the middle and play a free flowing, his own natural game. Because the ball is older when he comes out, the bowlers are more tired. They're not going to hit those straps. You are talking about some of the best new ball bowlers in the world, and a new ball coming at you is a completely different story to having a guy coming in after he's bowled about 10 overs, bowling the ball when it's not as new. Like, it's a whole different story. Even if you face the new ball later on in the series, you're facing not a fresh guy. You're facing a guy that has already bowled a whole lot of overs. So it's a whole different ball game altogether. So when it comes to this particular series, you're giving Keegan, it's a tough moment. Like, I thought that someone like the vice captain would put up his hand and say, look here, coach, or even Rassi say, coach, look here, put me in now. We've lost a quick wicket. Let me go out there. Let me face the fire and try and stay here with our captain, because he's going to need someone senior with him. Because now Dean's going to sit in here with Temba, and I hope that the two of them can pull off a miracle. This game is set up in a way for Temba to put on that masterclass, Aditya, to score that another 50 if there is a lot of game time. Oh, another 50 or 100 even. It's tomorrow possible.
Yes, it's the perfect stage is set for Temba and the rest of the lineup to really dig in. I mean, that's what he said at his press conference yesterday, right? That they have to make it incredibly hard for the Indian bowlers to get their wickets, and that hasn't been the case thus far. The other thing, just to add to what you and Aaron was saying about Keegan Peterson, I agree with you. Keegan Peterson should be batting at 5 or 6, just to shield him a little bit, and allow him to get into some sort of rhythm in international cricket. But even the fact that he's batting at 3, he's not helped by the fact uh, that the opening partnership has not been clicking for quite a while, because you have an opening partnership of 2 and then 1. He's pretty much opening the batting himself, Keegan Peterson. And when you have assuming you're going in at 90 for 1 or 100 for 1, that's a different story, because you've blunted the ball a bit. The bowlers are a bit tired. You've played time, and then you go in and you can perhaps cash in. But that hasn't been happening, and it didn't happen in the West Indies either. So I do feel for Keegan there, because you look at day one partnership between Mayank Agarwal and K. Rahul. At the fall of that first wicket, it becomes easier for the number 3 batsman to really soak in the pressure and play his game. That hasn't happened. But for the rest of the batting lineup, I think tomorrow is a great opportunity to get out there and support Dean Elgar in his quest to at least come out of this game undefeated.
Just to add to that, if I could, Aditya, I've just been thinking about this, because how many times have we now used the adjective free-flowing to describe Keegan Peterson? And people I've seen in the comments, I've seen on social media, describing the likes of Temba Pavuma and Rassi van der Dusen almost as anchors, really steely, solid, concrete players. Why are those guys not coming in after the openers? Because let's say you do lose an early wicket, they're perfect,
That's exactly
aren't
what
they?
you need.
For softening up the ball. And that allows for Keegan Peterson, as that more aggressive, expansive player, to make it easier for him. So again, just something to mull over from a South African perspective heading into future series.
But to be honest with you, Keegan Peterson is not necessarily a free-flowing player like the likes of Zubair Hamza and those type of batters. And people might get it mixed up a little bit, because I think they're assuming that. But because Keegan he does fight hard, even in domestic cricket, to get his runs. He scores his runs off a lot of balls. So He does spend a lot of time at the crease. I'll remember that at the beginning of the season with Saro Iavia, they batted the entire flipping day. Like it was insane. They were exceptional. I still did an interview with the two of them. You guys can see it on the channel. You can have a listen to what they had to say about that, and he describes his style of batting as well. He just might come across like he's more free flowing because of the level of bowling that he's facing at domestic cricket. So I feel that yes, but he combats it at domestic cricket, I feel, with shots, because you can play shots at almost every second ball in domestic cricket in South Africa currently. You can't do the same thing on a pitch like this. You can't do the same thing over here. You need to also leave the ball and learn how to leave the ball. And I feel that batting lower down, he'll have enough practice to do so and to actually identify that and play his natural game like he wants to play. And that's important. But another guy that's struggling is Aiden. Um, Although in Pakistan he was decent, I really thought that he played spin really well. And now he needs to combat another demon of his, and that's the seam. Uh, when the ball seams and swings like that, I've seen Aiden get caught in the crease multiple times already. I've seen this against England. I saw it against Australia a little bit. I saw it here. When Australia came here, he did bat really well against that seam attack. But there were signs of it. There were signs of it when he plays a little loose and he's playing the ball away from his body and he's not using his feet, or he's standing a little bit too middle stump and not enough off stump to combat the seam. If you watch Dean Elgar bat today, he stood right across the seam, right across his stumps almost. Like he didn't give much room for the ball to move really because he's right on top of the ball already. So yes, Dean might struggle with the shorter ones that punches into him, that cramps him for space. But when it comes to the movement, he had that kind of, especially when he was on the shoulder, the deliveries. So with Aiden as well, at this point, because he was thrown into the opening position from the get go. Like that was as a youngster coming into the arena, he was straight new ball facing the new ball against India's and the Bangladesh's, and Bangladesh wasn't such a big issue at the time, but when he played India and he played Australia straight away, opening battle, we really thought, okay, you look here, this guy's going to get that opportunity. And then he went overseas, struggled with spin, worked on his spin, and now he's struggling again with that deliveries. Even in white ball cricket sometimes, he does the same thing, especially in ODIs. He does exactly. He gets dismissed exactly the same way, almost in tests, as he does in ODIs. So it's a problem that he has, I feel, coming in as an opener against a new ball that is moving. It's a real issue that I think he has, and maybe a solution to that could be moving him to number 4. Even that could also be another possibility. But I'm a bit iffy to do that because then it's another new opener that you're bringing in, another new player in the top order that you're going to have to bring in. I think Aiden can, when he gets some matches under his belt. The perfect scenario for South Africa is what I think personally is we'll get better throughout the series because we've had game time under our belts now. If we can go and draw this match, we would have had game time under our belt, and it would be a perfect preparation for the Wanderers, a venue that we haven't beaten India at as well. We haven't beaten India at the Wanderers yet, so that's another discussion that we can have. But we've got our first caller. Ashwani is on the show. Again, thanks for calling in, brother. Welcome to the show. What would you like to say?
Hello, Khalid. Hello, Ditya. Hello, Aaron. How are you? Yeah, watched today's match. I think I will talk about India's batting. I think India's batting middle order look fragile, especially Pujara, Virat, and Rahane. These three should be India's batting backbone, but I think from the past 2 years, uh, Pujara maybe in the second inning, but Kohli and Rahane were literally disappointed. And I think India's batting in coming time can be a big layback for them. India's bowling is outstanding as we saw in the past 2 years, but I think for me the biggest worry is India's batting. Coming to South Africa, I think Proteas are missing players uh, that when they top score, they are able to score big, like Jack Callis, ABD Villiers. When they scores 50, they scores 100, 150. Even Jack Callis, he scores double hundred later in his life, but he also scored big runs. Hashim Amla, Graham Smith, that's what's Proteas missing. Uh, though they are very talented, Markram, Keegan Peterson, though very talented players, but they're not able to score big. I want to pick two players who I see future who should be in Proteas test team. One is Peter Malan, second is Tony De Zorzi. I saw Tony De Zorzi's batting against India A. I think he's playing exceptionally well against Indians. And Peter Milan, I am surprised that this guy is not in South African side. He has scored over 11,000 first class runs. He should be in South African side. Maybe playing top of the order at number 3 or number 5. He should be in South African team. I think he doesn't get enough chances.
And he also played well against England as well. So thanks a lot, Ashwani, for coming on. We're going to discuss those points right now. Excellent as usual. And your English is good, so don't feel don't feel shy about your English. It's good. Chat to you soon, brother. Okay, so Peter, we can discuss that. But if Peter comes in, does he come in at number 1? Does he come in at 3? And what happens to Aiden? And all of these questions, because there are people that don't. No. There are some people, even guys that come to this channel, that don't necessarily like. Not, I wouldn't say like, but they don't hype Aiden up as much as we do.
I wonder who that could be.
I wonder who that is. So, and I hope that he does come on the show tomorrow to discuss this. But
better.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody knows I'm a massive fan of Aiden. I think he's the future of South African cricket. But there needs to be work done with him, particularly against the moving ball. But what's your thoughts on that? Tony De Zorzi is another option. Aaron, you can throw it in here because I think you also do know these guys quite well.
Well, I've interviewed Tony. I also know Tony De Zorzi very well. He's a very, very nice bloke and a very, very talented batsman as well. But when it comes to Peter Malan, it is interesting because he only ever got 3 tests, didn't he? I believe he scored 156 runs in those tests. Average, it was in the late 20s, I think it was. Don't quote me on that. But as we all know, he is a very, very prolific scorer in South Africa's domestic circuit. Only problem that I can see, okay, aside from age, and I know people will bring that into the arguments against Peter Malan, you talk about the moving ball there, Khalid. I watched Peter firsthand for Warwickshire this summer, and he struggled immensely. Yeah. In fact, he got one big score against Worcestershire, and that was it. The rest of his stint, honestly, was not fruitful at all. He scored, less than, I think it's about 300 runs.
Same thing happened against India A. The first game, he scored big, and then...
Exactly.
Even domestically this season, the same thing happened. He scored like I think only 100, I think, this season.
But he's a tremendously gifted opening batsman. He really is. But if we're saying that about Aiden, you can argue they've got the exact same weakness. Because as I said, all you have to do for anyone wanting to look at Peter Malan, just watch some of Warwickshire's highlights or live streams from this summer. There were a lot of times when the ball was swinging and he was just throwing the bat. And that was such a common method of dismissal in the county championship. If you are playing in England, you are playing in New Zealand, for example, would Peter be able to dig in? Would he be able to see off that new ball spell with the ball swinging round corners? That's the only question I do have. So with Aiden, I feel like for the moment, you probably invest in him. If it comes to the point where he's not consistently scoring, and that's really hard as an opener, may I just say, as an opening batsman, something you have to understand, and I know this from speaking to countless opening batsmen, you're going to fail more times than you succeed. It's one of the
100%.
hardest positions in cricket because, let's be honest, you can score, 4 or 5 ducks, something like that, and then you score one big century and everyone remembers the century. That's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? That is what opening batting is all about. So when we look at Aiden, you either invest in him for the future. If you don't think Aiden is the right one, and again, this all comes down to the coaching, the setup, the selection process, then you could maybe shift away from that, bring him into the middle order if you feel like he needs that little bit of shielding, time to work on his technique, time to get some confidence and rhythm back into his game. And then I suppose you'd have to get a different opening option. Someone who we've mentioned countless times here on the show is Sorrell. Why not give him a go? But then again, this is all in theory. It depends what Mark Boucher's looking for. It depends what South Africa are looking for. And again, it all comes back to that main point, which comes up every single show. How does South Africa win games? How do you want to win test matches? And until we answer that question, a question that we've been waiting 2 years for, we're not going to know. And South Africa will not become a consistent test nation.
And if batters have problems like against spin, for example, and like against seam new ball deliveries, swinging new balls, throwing them back into domestic cricket is not going to help them because they're not going to learn those skills there. They might get confidence because they put on runs easily. But I mean, like for example, we talk about not me, but I'm a fan of Temba. I think he's, I love what he brings to the side. But there's a lot of people that said, no, Temba should be dropped. Temba was dropped. He went to domestic cricket and he scored 181 runs or something like that. He was like, no, what can you do? Because they're going to put on amazing runs in domestic cricket. Rassie van der Dussen was very consistent for the last 5 seasons. We put him in here into the test team. I think the test team is struggling. I considered dropping Rassie at one point in the test arena, even though his record is good, because I feel that we need to invest in guys that can learn to the future. And I'm always about the youngsters getting opportunities. But Rassie's had experience is so important to the side right now, especially when you bring in a new number 3. It's so important that we protect these players. That's the key. They need to invest properly. Because we've got so many openers coming through the system. There's Eddie Moore, there's Matthew Bretsky, there's Joshua Richards, there's Dominic Hendricks, there's now Western Province have a good opening pair with Jonathan Bird. He's supposed to be, he was injured a while. Yanaman Malan used to open, now they've moved him to 4 because they think he can possibly be a number 4 in the test arena. You've got Peter Malan, there's so many guys. Who else am I missing? There's plenty of guys that sadly, of course, we know that he's already in the setup, but there are so many openers in South African cricket. They are the ones that are doing well at the moment in the domestic scene. We are struggling with finding that next number 3. Reinhard van Tonder was excellent in his first opening 2 seasons, and now he's really struggling. And it's bound to happen. You're going to dip in form. Keegan Peterson, same thing happened with him. He would go and score 900 the one season, and then the next season only 400, and then the next season score 800, and the next season would go 600, and it will just go like that, yo-yo. So it's very difficult to find that balance. Once you find a person that you want to trust, you need to give him extended run, because I feel it's the only way. But protect him. That's what I think. You can't drop Aiden because he's going to go to domestic cricket and smash it up, and then we're going to bring him back into the team, and then he's going to have the same issues. That's my problem. They need to sort out the issues with him within this camp. Where are our batting consultants? I know the batting consultants currently with the East Under 19 team, obviously Neil McKenzie, but we need a batting coach. I don't see Mark Boucher teaching Aiden Markram how to face the new ball. What's he going to tell him? They need someone that can come in here that understands that has experience.
Hashim
Amla would be the perfect guy actually for that position.
I'm just saying, do you know, this summer, honestly, again, I'll bring it back to county cricket. My word, I've spoken to a couple of the Surrey lads. He is just a font of information. Hashim Amla, one of the absolute greatest to do it since the turn of the millennium. So he would be absolutely fantastic. I think Hashim Amla, I mean, the guy lives and breathes South Africa. You knew how much pride he took in wearing that Proteas shirt and going out there and performing. You've got to make contact with him, surely. And even if it's not as a quote-unquote consultant, even if it is these players, I don't know, even, arranging a Zoom call or arranging a net session, something like that, being proactive, learning from one of the modern greats, I think that'd be fantastic for the South African team at the moment. But just going back onto that little passage beforehand, Khalid, I do have a question here for both yourself, Aditya, and everyone watching out there, wherever you're watching from. We mentioned about this transition. We keep on mentioning all of these incredibly talented young cricketers, and there are an absolute plethora in South Africa right now. Let's say we were almost to have a Phoenix rebuild of this South African team, really bring in and invest all of these youngsters. Do you think this current setup would have the patience and the faith to give them that extended run that you talk about? Because I look at England, and in 2019, we tried that. We brought in Dom Sibley, we brought in Zach Crawley, we brought in Dan Lawrence, Ollie Pope, Dom Bess. Those guys were our future. 2020, England did fantastically well. We didn't lose a series all year long. These guys are being touted as the future. Dom Sibley scoring 133 in Newlands, Zach Crawley 267 against Pakistan. At the first sign of adversity, the India series in 2021, these guys got dropped. And that is something which has cost England tremendously. As we're seeing right now, all of that planning, all of that faith, all of that rebuild has gone to shreds. So do you think that South Africa, because you're going to have times, in particular with young, inexperienced batting lineups, where these guys are going to struggle, do you think they would have the confidence, the backing to succeed in the Test arena?
I'll let you answer that first, Aditya. Smash the like button, please, guys. I want to see over 40 likes on the end of this video.
You raised the point about investing in new talent and backing them. South Africa needs to have a very clear idea of selection, because as sports fans or even people within the setup, they're often tempted to replace players if they don't perform. But that's only half the battle. Can you really guarantee that the player who's going to replace the player who's dropped is suddenly going to perform? Is going to score hundreds and double hundreds or take fifers? That never happens, because I think before the player, you're dealing with the person. And there's something about, I don't know how the players in the current setup are feeling, whether they're secure or not, whether they're feeling confident in the positions that they're in, and whether they're really shielded from all the stuff that's happening off the field. That's certainly something that needs to be taken into account when we're talking about South African cricket. But what I think here about Aiden and some of the other players that we're talking about is that, well, one is that this is the first Test match. Okay, everyone looks rusty. You look at the dismissals from the first innings of 197. Every single player looked rusty. The bowlers looked rusty as well. So hopefully they'll come good in the second and third Test matches. But that's a reality. If when India played the first Test match of virtually any series, they don't perform as well as they do in the last Test match. And I think that's the case with South Africa as well. But I agree with you completely. Hashim Amla or another accomplished batting consultant needs to be working with the team. Because the batting woes of this team have gone on for far too long. And similarly, there's someone who needs to be scouting for bowlers, because when South Africa's first choice bowlers don't play, they look a different team. And I said that on the first day itself when we saw that bowling performance without Andrik Nokia in it. So I guess we can go on and on talking about it. You're on mute, bro.
How the tables have turned.
And you look at the experience guys. We had Jock Ellis as a consultant. Remember, Keegan Peterson was in that camp against England. He was in the nets and stuff like that. But what happened was, I think he got injured, and then obviously Zubair got a nod ahead of him and got moved into the Test arena, and he got his opportunity because he was next in line, I feel. But I think Cullis worked with these guys, and I haven't really seen it. He's worked with Rassi in the time that Rassi was there. He's worked with Temba. He's worked with these guys. I haven't necessarily seen any improvement since he's come into the setup. He went and consulted in England. Didn't see much over there change. Like, how much has changed over there?
Can I just mention something about this? This is something to any international team out there. Use England as an example. Can we stop appointing temporary consultants?
That's exactly my point.
Appoint a permanent batting coach,
yes.
Someone who you back and you trust to deliver. Because England this year, we've had 3 batting consultants. We've had Jack Callis for the Sri Lanka tour. We've had Jonathan Trott. We've had Marcus Draskothic. Just hire a batting coach. I know it's going to be a bit more expensive, but I'm saying this in particular to the ECB, and I hope the ECB are listening. Just invest. Trust me, it's worth it in the long term, because all of these consultancy roles, you're going to learn things. But what is the point if it's on a series by series basis? Because there's going to be different conditions, different personnel. You're going to be facing different players. It doesn't work. Just pay someone the right amount of money to work with these people all year round. It's not a tremendously difficult theory to comprehend.
Yeah, and South Africa is currently sitting with a batting lead that's not available. So, like, I mean, Neil McKenzie, I don't know how much he's actually worked with the guys. As a we appointing batting leads to oversee batting across the board, women's cricket, men's cricket, all cricket, under 19 cricket, everything. So, like, how do they focus? And they can't pull themselves in so many different directions. We're having so much cricket happening at the same time. South Africa's currently, it's under 19 is currently in the West Indies. They're going to go to a World Cup. South Africa's playing India now currently. We've got the women's team that's going to prepare for a World Cup too. Like, there's so much cricket happening. They need a permanent coach, a permanent batting coach that can really help these guys and give them experience that they need, that they lack from an experience perspective, even from within the team itself, because there's very little caps if you count it compared to Australia, for example.
Just to add on to your point, and this is more of a question, that at a cultural level, is information shared easily between like different generations of players? Because what I've heard from Faf du Plessis, for instance, is that there's very little exchange of information. Certainly between captains, but also between players. I can give you an example from India. When Virat Kohli had a horror tour of England in 2014, literally the day he came back to India, he called up Sachin. And Kohli he was living in Delhi at the time. He went to Bombay for a couple of weeks before the next tour. He called Sachin. Sachin worked with him for 10 days. 4 months later, in Australia, he hits 400s in 4 test matches. Ajinkya Rahane was struggling. He can contact Sachin Tendulkar. He's close to him. He contacted, before Rahul Dravid became coach, he contacted Rahul Dravid to help him with his batting. So, like that's a facet of our culture. Like Mayank Agarwal the other day, he made 150 in Mumbai, and before the series started, he was opener in Kanpur as well. Before the series started, he had a one-on-one session with Sunil Gavaskar. Sunil Gavaskar retired in 1987, but he's obviously still around. He's still commentating. But they had a session, and it worked out. He scored 150 and 62 in the second Test match. So I don't know if that's something that goes on in South African cricket, but I feel like it's helpful. Players should do it.
I guess so, but who do you call? For example, Jock Ellis not available at the moment, or he was around. I don't know where he is. Herschel Gibbs. I doubt you're going to call Herschel Gibbs. When you look at, and I'm sure Herschel will help the guys, but I think to get him it's going to be I don't know. It's going to be a mission for them to get hold of him in the first place. Then you've got Ashwell Prince, who's now currently coaching in Bangladesh, so he's not available right now. Then you've got Hashim Amla is one that they could call, and I feel that could give them a lot of insight. And it's something that I would suggest to Zubair Hamza, for example, a player like him or Keegan. Give Hashim a call. Tell him, you know what? Because especially Keegan with his Dolphins connections now, and Hashim with his old Dolphin connections that he used to have, because that's where he started his career. I'm sure he can get a hold of Hashim in some way and say, look here, can't you come down to Wanderers? I know now at the moment it'll be difficult because of the bubbles and COVID and everything. But when that does ease out, I can organize it somehow so that they can work with these guys. It's an excellent idea, Aditya.
But there's a great story of Kevin Peterson. When he was going through a rough patch between 2008 and 2010, he didn't score 100 in Test cricket, and he called Graham Ford, who was his coach at the junior levels in cricket. He traveled from England to South Africa, and Ford knew Kevin Peterson's technique well, and he sorted out his difficulties within minutes. And then a couple of weeks later, he scored 227 in Adelaide. So that's an international connection. He flew all the way to South Africa to work with Graham Ford. So I don't know if this is as much of an institutional endeavor as it can be a one-on-one as well. I don't know how comfortable current South African players are reaching out to to senior players.
But then that needs to change, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
let's be honest,
Yeah.
over the years, I mean, for goodness sake, this is why I'm currently wearing a Proteas shirt. I mean, how many legendary players have donned this shirt over the years? How much knowledge, how much wisdom, how much advice is out there? I mean, South Africa, I know that people talk about the World Cups and the lack of trophies in that regards, but some of the finest cricketers on the planet in the last 20 years have been South African. There's absolutely no excuse for that. There should be that openness, that transparency, the sharing of information. I mean, I do just have a question. Where's JP? JP Duminy? Is he available at the moment or not?
He was
the
working.
batting coach of the Lions.
Yeah.
Well, again, is he not a resource that could be tapped into? I mean, JP was a fantastic player.
Well, there we go, guys. That's an excellent idea. Let's put it out there. We'll do probably a podcast show on this. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe. Click the notification bell for all future videos, as well as subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine Monthly. The link is in the description. Every issue, every back issue, 100% free, straight into your inbox. It's free, so go ahead. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you guys again tomorrow with another show. I love talking to you guys. So let's continue doing that. Please come on more shows, Aaron, and join us more.
I've said
when you have
this.
the opportunity.
I have said this. As long as I am free, I will be here. Okay, I've been here for 2 years now, Khalid. Yourself and Aditya and Poe. Okay, all of the guys, Ravi. I know Lubabalo's no longer, taking part as much, but one of the OGs. There's nothing quite like, spending an hour or so on Cricket Fanatics magazine. So
thank you, brother.
I will be here, Brew. Don't you worry about that. Chatting my nonsense, chatting my Ollie Stone and Dom Sidley propaganda. And again, just for the viewers out there, subscribe to the channel. Honestly, these two put in so much work. Honestly, they really do. They deserve a lot of respect. They deserve a lot of support. Click and subscribe. Subscribe to the magazine and just keep on watching the videos. That's all that I have to say. And I think that's a nice place to end the video.
And follow him on social media, and also follow him because he does excellent work too. So guys, the podcast and everything that he does as well. So please go ahead and follow the Cricket Connoisseur as well. So thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow with another review show. Peace.